All right, short week. Here we go. Tennessee Titans. I've got a reason that I'm actually genuinely very excited about this matchup. We'll get to that in a bit. Thanks to BetUS for sponsoring the video. But DeMeco today asked a bunch of questions. I've got about 4 or 5 of the answers here that I think are relevant or that I enjoyed the most. And one of them was just Landry Locker asked about Derek Stingley traveling with the team's best wide receiver. And DeMeco basically said, listen, Landry, I'm not going to tell you anything about when or why we do that, but here's DeMeco talking about Derek Stingley.
He's continued to grow, as a player. He's gained a lot of trust in everybody just by showing up each and every week. And when there is a quote-unquote difficult matchup, like he thrives in those moments, no matter who he's going against. So you have a corner who has that mentality, not only him, but with the mentality of Stingley and also the mentality of Kamari, like 2 really good young corners, right, who will line up and play against anybody.
So I like the mentality of Stingley is that Stingley, he's not hard to read. He loves football. He loves going out and playing football. He's not much for social media or talking or anything other than that. I think he's like a football monk who just likes to think about football, play football, go out and do it. And he's really come into his own. The numbers about him and Kamari last year. I mean, look at this game alone, where I know it's Cooper Rush and everything, but it's been a stretch of time now where Derek Stingley has just been. He looks like a master out there. And he didn't travel with CeeDee Lamb all that much, but when he was on CeeDee Lamb, this is via Sam Warren, from the Chronicle. CeeDee had 2 catches for 19 yards on 4 targets. The 2 incompletions resulted in a pass deflection and an interception. Could have had another pick if he hadn't been interfered with by CeeDee Lamb. We saw that there in the end zone. It's a smart play by CeeDee Lamb. He's allowed 5 catches for 41 yards on 20 targets over the last 4 games. 6 passes defense and the interception, all in that 4-game period. Opposing quarterbacks have had an 18.75 passer rating when targeting him, and including a 3.5 rating from Cooper Rush. Cooper was atrocious in some of those. There were a couple where Derek was doing a great job covering CeeDee Lamb, but then the ball, it was hard for him to make that one interception in the second half because the ball was so errant. So, that's how bad it was. But Stingley, I just have complete and total faith with him. Update for Kamari Lassiter would be that Kamari Lassiter was out there it's a walkthrough, but they had the hypothetical, would have been good to go for practice. He was listed as full go. We'll go over the injury report in a little bit. And so Lassiter and Stingley being out there together, it's just huge right now because they don't have a lot of guys. As we saw in the game, they don't have enough guys that can really cover man. Okudah got a chance and gave up inside leverage when Caleb Bullock behind him was not expecting him to give up inside leverage, and you end up with a special teamer who's got 200, went into the game with just barely over 200 yards receiving on the game. Turbin ended up getting that touchdown. I was bullish on the Texans going into this game, partly because of the return of Nico Collins, partly because the Cowboys are just that atrocious. And if you look at the recommendations I gave, I said to take the over, which is rare. I predicted 38-10. So I was close on the 34-10. If Nico had played 60 snaps or so, I'd feel better about. Actually, I would have maybe gotten close to nailing it even closer. Then on the props, I said to go over on Joe Mixon, over on CJ Stroud passing. Ding, ding there. And then, Nico. If it hadn't been for the illegal man downfield, I probably would have had a good chance of getting Nico on the over too. So 3 out of 4 ain't bad. I'll take 3 out of 4. And I'll get to some of your comments here later. I got a little bit of a logistical issue here in the stream, so bear with me. But if you go to BetUS right now, they will give you a 150% sign-up bonus on your first deposit up to $2,000. Just use that promo code YouTube150. Your second and third deposits, they'll give you a 125% bonus. It's a good deal. Go over to BetUS. Next, the one that I've gotten here. Okay, this is why I'm excited about this game. I'm genuinely excited about this Titans game, not because it's the Titans, not because the state of Tennessee is full of inbred weirdos. I'm not saying you're all inbred weirdos, Titans fan, but you guys were arguing in your state legislature a year ago about whether to make first cousin marriage illegal or not. Okay? All right? Nobody else is doing that. No other state's doing that. Get with the program. I hope you passed it for your own benefit. That TVA money is only going to last for so long. But the defense for the Titans, they're good. And their defensive linemen, especially Jeffrey Simmons and T'Vondre Sweat, full-grown men. T'Vondre Sweat, I know we had discussions about him, whether or not the Texans should draft him. I wondered how well he'd fare through a long season with the weight issues that he's got. Probably about 350 or so right now. So I put some Jeffrey Simmons highlights in here. They're from 2 years ago, and they feature a lot of Texans players. So I didn't do that to torture you. I just want you to keep fresh and present in your mind. All right, this is the challenge this week. Can this offensive line, which has shown improvement in the last couple weeks, make hay versus Jeffrey Simmons, T'Vondre Sweat, the entire front seven of that Titans defense? Here's DeMeco talking about that. After one little extra.
With Tennessee, their defense, it stands out starting up front with Simmons and Sweat, like two big players that are hard to move. They make it difficult, very difficult to run the ball against them because they do such a great job of controlling the line of scrimmage, and they're two guys who are really hard to displace just because of their size and their power. So that is the focal point for us is how do we handle their defensive line because that is their strength right now. And they do a really good job on, third down, playing tight coverage, forcing you to make plays. I think they're in sync. They're coached really well. Their guys play hard. It's going to be a really tough defense to go against. They do a really good job, just not only schematically, but also just the way that they're in the style that they play. They play an aggressive style of defense, and it's challenged a lot of people, and it's going to be a challenge for us.
All right, I feel bad about that. I forgot I put that many highlights. There were a bunch in there. That was from his 2023 top 100 players reel. I cut him out of there, and I was shocked and dismayed to see the Texans showing up. So Kenyon Green, we're in trouble if he all of a sudden makes a comeback. Quesenberry, please no. The guys that are in there right now, Shaq Mason, Jarrett Patterson, Juice Scruggs. They've got to do a better job than Texans teams have done in the past at holding up to Jeffrey Simmons and T'Vondre Sweat, who's a new debut, a debut for all of us to see in a Titans uniform at least. I'm encouraged by some of the progress they showed, I think, in pass protection. Some of the run plays in that game, particularly the first Joe Mixon zone run cutback, that was beautiful. That was defensive line, tight ends, wide receivers. Tank Dell, it just got just enough of a block downfield to really spring Joe Mixon on that. I liked that. Some of the physical run blocking, like we saw against the Lions, it can be an issue. There's a man versus boys feel sometimes when you get down into the red zone around the goal line, and these guys try to get movement. Even on that Joe Mixon touchdown in the fourth quarter, I didn't see a lot of movement there. That was a lot of getting in the right spots. Juice Scruggs pulled and sealed this guy, but it's not like he waylaid him. But Joe Mixon was able to get in. But I've seen progress there. This is a good test, and I love it because, all right, there's very few reasons the Titans should win this game. And unlike the Cowboys game, now I shouldn't say very few. Like Will Levis is playing better. They have threats, obviously. But the one big thing is the Cowboys, I felt like, all right, I don't know, no matter how well the Texans play versus the Cowboys are such a bad team all around that I don't know how much I'm going to be able to take from it. I thought they did a good job handling Micah Parsons, some of the movement beforehand. You didn't get miscommunications as often on the pass protection. And some of that is the way Bobby called the game too. But this is a good test. Like the Titans are top 5 in a lot of categories, and especially when you go to the advanced stats, they're really, really good on third down. So this is not a game where you can just cruise through and you're going to get a victory. this is big for that interior offensive line. I'm talking myself into it. Like, all right, I want to see these guys really show me something that I haven't seen before. If we look at the injury report, so this was encouraging to me. Kamari Lassiter, full participation. So I'm presuming he's going to play this week. There's no, hey, he went out for this light practice and wait and see how he responds. He would have been full participation. Azeez Alshire, Will Anderson. Oh, Will Anderson. Will Anderson was out there. I'll talk a little bit about Will when we get into Danielle Hunter here in a minute. And I think Danielle Hunter is next. Derek Stingley has a hip. He had that last week, so that's not that big a deal. Blake Fisher still in the concussion protocol. I'd prefer not to see that, but we'll talk about some of the defensive linemen in a little bit. I think the next one here is on Danielle Hunter, or it's I think this, or it's on them performing better in the second half. We'll see. It'll be our surprise.
The thing that shows up with D. Hunter is
Danielle Hunter.
just the persistence. Like he's getting after it, right? With everything that he has. Like, of course, he has a lot of different moves there, but whatever else, I tell him whatever it takes to get to the quarterback, just want him moving forward and being persistent, and he's done that time and time again right now. I think he leads the league in pressures. He's been around the quarterback a lot and finishing a lot more as well. So really proud of just his work, his body of work. You know, he's done that when he was in Minnesota, and it's showing up again here.
I had tweeted out during the game early on after a really nice run play that Danielle Hunter had. The tackle, he actually slipped the pulling guard or the tight end that was coming to kick him out. I think it was a tight end. And, the textbook is that you blow it up and bounce it, unless you're Danielle Hunter or J.J. Watt or several select dudes who are fast enough to just go upfield and make the tackle. He made that play. So I tweeted out that, oh man, it's fun. It's just so much fun watching Danielle. He's an artist out there. He is a master craftsman. And somebody tweeted back at me, well, it'd be cool if he got some sacks. And he got 2 sacks. And he's seventh in the NFL in sacks right now. Based on which stat service you're using, he leads the league in pressures. That's the NFL Next Gen. I'm a little more skeptical of the way the NFL Next Gen does it, but he's top 10 in pressures, whoever did by a lot of different counting services. And the big thing is that it was all without Will Anderson. So you've got Danielle Hunter out there, you've got DeMeco Autry, you've got Derek Barnett, you've got the guys on the inside, and they're getting it done. But you add Will Anderson back to it, and especially versus good quarterbacks and good offenses, I think these guys are really coming into their own. As a defense, they're 5th in EPA right now, so on a down-by-down basis. And in terms of success rate, by percentage of plays that you have a good play versus a bad play, they're up there in the top 5 too. They're really rounding into form, and that's without Will Anderson the last couple of weeks. So Will Anderson full go today. Just to take another little look at, indulge me for a minute on a couple of these plays. So Danielle Hunter there. This is let me see if I remember what this one is. This is a Euro step, jab the other way, and then a spin back around. Okay, Euro step, goes upfield, spin. That's a violent spin. All right, let me just watch that again. Dude, and he hit the spin on Penei Sewell last week, and now he does it. Oh, my God. Look at how much ground he's covering with that Euro step. And then he contorts his body, and then this is key. That left elbow, you clear him out. Listen, young defensive lineman, if your coach allows you to spin, and I support him if he says no spinning allowed, because most young offensive linemen and a lot of young NFL defensive linemen are just reckless and haphazard in how they spin. You got to be good at it if you do it, and that is really good. And then just to watch Derek Barnett up at the top one more time on this play. You guys know what's coming. I mean, this is a nice rush, but really, look at that bend right there. But the hand-eye coordination to knock the ball out, Oh, that poor dude. Because look at this. He's thinking, I'm going to break this tackle. And then, but then look at this. Look at the athleticism. Okay, put the ball away. Put the ball away, Derek. But other than that, don't get Leon leaded. And then watch just at the. He might have been a running back, and somebody tell me whether he was a running back in high school or not. You guys got to understand, a lot of the defensive linemen, look, they're incredibly athletic, but then they have to add 50 extra pounds to carry on top of that. So they're guys that if if they were at tight end weight, you'd be amazed at how athletic they are. But they got to carry. It's like you're carrying around a 45-pound plate with you all the time. In the case of Devondre Sweat, he's carrying around 245 plates with him all the time over like what his ideal healthy body fat is. Astounding, those guys. Not me. I was slow at any weight. I'm like 70 pounds lighter than when I played, and still slow. Got nothing from it. Let me just get some comments here for a minute. Let's see. It's football. Even the best thrown bad passes just keep faith and will grow and blossom into it. Yeah, let's see. Gotta love seeing the big men running. Hey, Seth, however we get to the playoffs, do you think DeMeco will call JJ to come help out? No, I've given up on JJ. JJ looks pretty happy, man. His commercials are funny. Dude, I think JJ, if this is me guessing, 100%. Anytime I ever have texted or conversed with JJ, I tell him, I don't want to know anything about your intentions. I don't like having inside information. I just like to speculate and whatever. So I don't talk. I haven't talked to him in a while, but just texted him. I never anything like that. I just don't want to know. I end so many of my texts to people in the NFL right now with, do not respond. I don't want to hear a comment from this or anything. I never want anybody to think that I'm doling out inside information to people. So, and because I can't keep in my brain straight what's supposed to be public and what's not. I'd love to pretend that I'm like being noble or something more. I don't trust my ability to actually keep things quiet. All right. He was asked about teams improving as the season goes along.
I thought our guys, again, did a good job of just competing and finishing in the second half.
Nope. This is him talking about playing better in the second half.
I thought our guys, again, did a good job of just competing and finishing in the second half. That's a point of emphasis for us, and that won't change moving forward. Like, for us to continue to grow and become a really good team, we have to finish games in the second half. So I'm most proud of our guys about that. That didn't change from watching the film.
All right, so I think the defense really picked it up in the second half. I know it was frustrating watching them play as much zone as they did, but I just kept going back to that Okuda play. Like, they're in man there, and man, they don't have enough guys to play man. So especially when you're going against a quarterback like Cooper Rush behind a sketchy offensive line, they would eventually lose one of their best offensive linemen this century after Tim Settle went off. Sorry, shout out to Tim Settle as well. But they did what they had to do. They got the pass rush going. They tidied up some of the perimeter support on the screens and the runs, and then they just created turnovers. They came up in the kill zone, and through a combination of plays on the ball, Jalen Petrie having murderous intent. My God, on a legal hit. One of those was a legal hit that was flagged. That's what you want to see out of a team playing a bad quarterback. The offense, I'll again, I think there was progress. They finally scored a second half touchdown, but it was at the end of a game where they already had a healthy lead versus a really bad run defense, especially. I want to see them. I want to see them be able to run successfully when they need to run versus the Titans. That would be progress. Those are full-grown men in that front seven, and that's what we need to see. I'm going to put up a graphic here, and I'm going to apologize in advance, just like I apologize for showing the Jeffrey Simmons highlights. But this is John Crumpler tweeting out that since week 6, amongst passers with at least 100 dropbacks, this is where C.J. Stroud ranks among NFL quarterbacks. Passer rating 30th, completion percentage 38th. How have there been that many quarterbacks with that many EPA per dropback 30th and yards per attempt 26th. So I'm not I look at that with very little criticism for CJ Stroud because he was under duress so much of the time and he didn't have Nico Collins and everything was just disjointed. There is that part, though, that we've all noticed where, man, even when he's not under duress, it just seems like he's had more unforced errors than we've seen before. And I'm not worried about him being permanently broken or anything, but I think it's a lot when you're a second-year quarterback and your personnel is way different than everything you spent the offseason doing for a huge chunk of time this season. Not since week 6 as much, but they've had good rushing output, but they still haven't really been able to run the ball effectively, so it's put him in 3rd and long more than any other quarterback in the league. There's a lot of variables that are making it really uncomfortable for CJ, but I'm not worried about it long term. In the short term, I think with the addition of Nico Collins, and Nico only played 30 snaps in that game, which I'm guessing most of you know, they're ramping him up slowly. But this is that time of year when he's just got to start getting it going. Let me see if we can get a couple questions. Yes, find the refs. They do grade them, by the way. So it's not like the refs. I know people always want accountability for the refs. They do grade the refs, and not every ref gets to come back to the NFL the next year. So for whatever if that helps you feel any better. You know the thing about that one, these hits by defensive backs, the real cruel irony of it is it's almost like the better a defensive back does at abiding by the rules, the more likely he is to get flagged. Like Jalen Petrie on that play did exactly what people forever feared the defensive backs wouldn't be able to do when they changed the rules and they started protecting ball carriers more. Is that, well, guys can't target somebody that specifically when they're running at full speed. Petrie does it. He does it on that play that he got flagged. And because it's so perfect, they assume that the guy got hit in the head or that Petrie launched, and he didn't launch. Because when he made contact, his feet were in the ground. And when you make contact in an upward direction, you're basically jumping into the air. It's just that there's a human body there to stop you from actually, your feet leaving the ground. So if you launch beforehand, before contact, yeah, that's launching. But all Petrie did was come up and hit the dude so hard with Alshire hitting him at the same time that, yeah, his feet, he kept jumping up into the air because it was such an awesome, clean, beautiful hit. And he was fined because of it. It's like 2 years ago when they were being hypersensitive to guys landing on the quarterback or throwing them down. So defensive linemen would be going out of their way to try to roll off the quarterback, and that they would then get flagged for throwing the quarterback into the ground. Anyway, I'm going off on a rant about something that I have no control over. Let's see, should get cleared up in the next couple games. Mechie is stepping up too. Yes. So as far as Nico, I think will probably play the full game this week. I mean, they're being hyper conservative with everybody. That's a good question as to whether, will they be hyper conservative with Will Anderson? I think the fact that he was out there today and it was a Wednesday practice, I'm guessing that this is the week. I think the hyper conservative part with Will may have been last week, and they're just being extra careful to be sure everybody's healthy come playoffs. I'm cool, especially with this next stretch of games. So a couple of you had recommended, because I feel weird about getting the super comments and making people pay for them. I'm going to set up a charity, so anybody that pays for a super commenter or whatever, I'll just donate it towards that charity, and I'll take any. Hold on a second, Brandon. I'll answer this, and I'll take any suggestions for charities you guys have. Why didn't Bullock break the right way on the Okudah play? So on that play, and this kind of goes back to I never talked about Stingley not shadowing CeeDee Lamb. We can get to that in a minute. On that play, Okudah had inside leverage, and they rotated to single high at the snap, but then Kalen Bullock comes to the left and looked like he was going to play that half of the field, and they would have been just cover zero on the right side because the other safety came up. Whatever. It looked like he very much anticipated in single high coverage that Okudah was not going to give up the inside route, and that's exactly what he did. So I think Kalen maybe could have adjusted to it more quickly, but that's on Okudah. Okudah's got inside leverage on there, and he just got torched to the inside. So, and Okudah didn't play as the game went on. So I think I think that's the sum total of it there. Yeah, and this too. DeMeco wasn't asked about this. I know CJ was dealing with a throwing hand issue, but my first guess seeing these throws is that it's more than his hand. Is he in his head? Maybe it's the O-line car him, or their girlfriend left him. Yeah, no, CJ doesn't have an Instagram influencer girlfriend yet. Thank God. Please just try not to go down any road that the previous quarterback went down. Yeah, the throwing hand was weird because nobody asked about it. And I thought somebody would ask DeMeco about it today. He's not on the injury report with that hand. I've wondered whether maybe, you can point to some instances where maybe his mechanics are off compared to what they usually are, obviously, like pristine mechanics. And the decision on his late decision to throw to Tank 2 weeks ago is the one that really makes me wonder, all right, I wonder if he's been dealing with something, because that's something a quarterback will do if they're not feeling 100%, is they start to second guess themselves on the deep stuff a little bit. And maybe he has been working through something, maybe he hasn't. I hope, and I say this with all positive intentions, yeah, I hope he's been injured. I hope he's been injured, and I hope he's fine now. The hand injury was just last week, but he's had injuries that, like every quarterback in the league, they have injuries that aren't necessarily on the report because they're going to play no matter what. That might be part of it. So thanks again to BetUS for sponsoring the video. Please like before you go and share all that stuff. And I'm forgetting something. Oh, the Stingley stuff. So Stingley, I think the conservative game plan probably had something to do with, like, hey, let's not get too far out of whack. We don't need Stingley traveling with CeeDee Lamb when Cooper Rush does a good enough job not getting CeeDee Lamb the ball. This week, is Calvin Ridley shadow worthy? I don't know. Will Levis has been playing better as of late, but if Kamari Lassiter is back, I'm not worried about it. I think I just want to see that pass rush go to work. I'd love to see them start to get to more of their third down blitz happy ways versus this team, because it's just I just put it on Will Levis, please. I can't watch any more of those mayonnaise commercials. I'm done with the mayonnaise commercials.